McKee, and welcome to Prime Time. It's 7 o'clock, and we're having a wonderful time on a Monday. I hope you had a great Monday. If not, you're going to have a great one right now. We're going to be talking to Isaac McKissick, and he's going to be enlightening you on a lot of different things in his life. We'll talk a little bit about West Point. We'll talk a little bit about the WEGOJA. I believe I got that right. If not, you're going to find out. But that is too, and it's an acronym, but we're not going to tell you what the acronym is. Look it up, and you go to their website too, and you find all kinds of different things. And I'm glad you're going to be here tonight, and we're going to have a great time. And we'll be back right after La Fagana's message to you. All right, we back, and get a little button here clicked here. I'm glad that you're with us here, and I'm going to turn you over to here in just a second to Mr. Isaac McKissick, and a lot of you is going to know his face. A lot of you are going to know who he is, and because you're like me, well, you're probably not like me. I'm horrible on names, but this guy's been all around Union, good native here in Union. His family has, and so let me switch over to his pretty face instead of mine.
Well, at least you know how to flatter someone.
Well, exactly. That's how you get more. More honey?
More bees with honey.
Yeah, something like that. And how you doing? Can I call you Isaac or Mr.?
You call me Ike.
Ike, okay, like Ike Turner. Yes.
No. Ike.
That's right. It's not Ike Turner's not a good one. Good music, but during that era, and. We want to talk a little bit about you growing up a little bit. Now, you grew up here in Union?
Yeah, Union has been a very special place to me. And I actually grew up early and all because back in the early 60s was a wonderful time. And as a young boy, I think I started working when I was about 7 years old. And there was a place
working at 7 years old.
Yeah, there was a place on in Union, back behind Arthur State Bank, that was called Wall Street. And Wall Street was where most of the black businesses were located: barbershop, cafes, drugstore, pool halls. Just a bunch of black businesses there.
Was that right behind Main Street?
Yeah, right behind the bank.
Yeah. Now, isn't there still a barbershop there? Or I know it used to be.
Yeah, it used to be there. Yeah, but it's not a barbershop now, but the building is there. That used to be the Loan Building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that used to be the Loan Building. I worked in that building. But across the street there, Dr. Lillian Sauter had a drugstore. And I worked for Dr. Sauter delivering the AFRO-American and JET.
JET magazine.
JET magazine.
And that was a little magazine. It wasn't like a big magazine.
No, it was a little small magazine, but a lot of interesting articles. Really, and it was based in Chicago, and you caught up with what was going on in Black America.
Now, being a young age at that time like that, the good articles had some pretty women in it too.
Oh yeah, the pinups.
Yes.
Yeah, the pinups. It was definitely there. You know, little boy's eyes get right big and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's something else.
So you worked delivering that.
Delivering that.
Did you deliver any regular paper or newspaper?
No, there was the AFRO-American, which was also a weekly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a weekly newspaper, and it basically carried news about Black America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was it anything that in Union, like the local things into that paper, or was it just
No,
kind of like a
basically it was a
national?
national, But you got a perspective,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got it. And see, Union really made its own news in terms of being a very tight knit community, and really in terms of one of the things that what I call a national treasure was Sims High School.
Right.
And Sims High School had turned out folks at that particular point in time that were really making a mark on the world, or in the process of making a mark on the world. And one of the things I used to tell folks as I got older, so now if you go to a place and they running something, they probably from Union, probably went to Sims High School. And what and I'll give you some examples. I guess everybody talks about Mr. Moore and the football team, because you're talking about a record of either 93 or 96 games run consecutively. And then the other thing I don't think people talk about a whole lot is that Mr. Moore had a tremendous coaching tree. And the guys that Mr. Moore taught how to play football taught great people how to play football. And we can go, there are at least 5 Hall of Famers, NFL Hall of Famers, that were coached by men that Mr. Moore coached.
Wow. So there's actually 5 that came out of Sims High School.
They didn't come out of Sims High School.
Okay.
They were coached
By him.
by men who Mr. Moore coached.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Willie Jeffries. Now, Coach Jeffries was the first African-American coach at a predominantly white institution, Wichita State. But Coach has 2 in the Hall of Fame, Harry Carson and Donnie Shell. And Donnie's from down there in Whitmire.
Wow.
Shannon Sharp has been in the news quite frequently. And Shannon was coached by Bill Davis. And Bill grew up, Bill's father, Bill grew up in Union. He graduated from Sims. There's another gentleman, Art Shell. Now, Art's in the NFL Hall of Fame. He was also the first black modern-day NFL coach. And Art's from Charleston, and he played football at, I think, well, it's Maryland Eastern Shore now, but he played football for Roosevelt Gillum.
Now, did you play football at Sims?
It was a junior high then.
Junior high?
Yeah, that was when it was junior high then, yeah.
Well, my daughter teaches at Sims here in Union now.
Yeah, the guy that pretty much raised most of us was Paul Glenn. He also played for Mr. Moore. Oh. And Coach Glenn had a bunch of opportunities to go and coach other places, but he stayed here with us.
Well, Union is a football town.
Oh, it's a football town.
Yeah, because I know when I first came here, I was just overwhelmed about how the stadium filled up with people that not coming from a bigger city, and I thought, well, man, they didn't fill it up like this, like they do, and it's still the same thing. It's a football town, and I played in elementary school, but not in high school, nothing like that. But it's in a small town. But it's and I joined. It's one thing I loved about Union is that a lot of old tradition was still here. From the parades downtown and stuff, it just was a little bit of, I don't know, just something that I just loved about the small town. Almost like I know it's like not like a Norman Rockwell thing because it's got its issues and things too, but it was, to me it was.
Yeah, something that when you played your theme song, Cliff Noble's The Horse.
Yes.
One of the craziest things that happened in Union was in the late 60s at the Christmas parade. The Sims High Band, under the direction of Fred Bean, played The Horse going down Main Street in a Christmas parade. And people were just flat out shocked. this is not a Christmas tune, but that's what Sims Band played that year in the Christmas parade.
Whoa, that's kind of ironic then, isn't it? Have this
Yeah.
one. I love the horse. I mean, a lot of people don't know when they hear that, they don't know the name of it. And I don't even know where the name originated as far as why do they call it the horse.
Yeah, but that was the name of the tune.
I know. But
Cliff Nobles. I remember it well because my folks had a little store and had a little jukebox, and the horse was in heavy rotation.
yes. And when I was growing up, that's where I heard it at, and it's got a great beat to it. But I'm just kind of always wondered, I'm going to have to research that. Why did they come up with the name The Horse? It's like I interviewed John Cafferty and Beaver Brown Band.
Okay.
And when I interviewed him, I asked him, I said, where did you come up with the Beaver Brown Band? He said, well, we got together and our producer said that we got to have a name. And so we was in the garage. We locked ourselves in there and said, over on the shelf was this can of paint called Beaver Brown. And that's where we got it at.
Yeah.
So I always think names had to originate from somewhere.
I just scratched my head and, I saw it. That's where the name came from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, where did you graduate from high school from?
Union High.
Union High?
Yeah.
Okay. And then from there, you went to, did you go to West Point right after that?
Right after that, yeah.
Right after that. Tell me a little bit about West Point. To me, it's a very prestigious school and discipline school.
It was somewhat traumatizing till I figured out I couldn't come back home. Yeah, that was a discussion that my mother and I had probably about maybe 1 or 2 weeks in, and that was the first phone call they allowed you to make. And if you recall phone booths, I pretty much smoked up a phone booth. And you're talking about tears and snot. And tears, snot, and humidity. So basically what it did was that you couldn't see out of the phone booth. But I'm begging to come back home.
Yeah.
And to tell you, well, you ain't welcome.
You're not coming now.
No, you ain't
was
coming.
Was that the first time that you ever really away from home?
I had gone to summer reading workshop at Bennett College, which is up in Greensboro. I think that was in '72. And it focused on reading, So I was gone for several weeks up there.
Okay.
But that was pretty much the first extended stay away from home. First airplane trip, whole 9 yards.
Wow. I remember my first airplane trip. How was yours? Was you a little nervous or excited?
Well, I think at that point in time, you don't know whether or not to be nervous.
Right.
You get on the airplane, it's all new. You got to understand, 17 years old, we are immortal.
Yes.
Ain't going to happen to me. yeah, ain't going to happen to me. So you go ahead, you get on the plane, and you get off in this strange world, and then you start to figure it out when you first, you can't come back home, you can't do this, and okay.
Now, how was in West Point, the discipline? I know, it's not like regular college.
I think the funniest thing about it was that was during the time when there were, and especially we're talking about the first summer.
Right.
So there were, I think, 2, maybe 3 upperclassmen and 7 plebes at a table. So if an upperclassman spoke to you, you couldn't eat.
Wow.
There were, and there were some guys that said if an upperclassman was talking to any of your classmates, none of you could eat. And Wednesday night was steak night. So you're going to chow hard.
Right.
But that first Wednesday night, I think we threw away about 7 steaks. And I think I dropped 35 pounds over the summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So somebody just couldn't not talk, right?
Well, now if an upperclassman was talking to one of your classmates,
Right.
you couldn't eat. If an upperclassman spoke to you, you couldn't eat.
So that was part of respect.
No, that was just
And
part of the
discipline?
rules. I think at that point in time, before they had a couple of congressionals, that was what they called hazing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Well, we're going to come right back here in just a second here. You're listening to Isaac McKissick, and we're going to come back and hear some other great things that's going on besides West Point. And I'm Jerry McKee, and we'll be right back. And let's hear a little bit from La Pagata. Well, when you lost 35 pounds, did you gain it back? I mean, was this... No, it just had other kind of rules and things.
Well, it was highly active.
Right.
And see, your first year, you had to run everywhere you went.
Run?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was how that worked.
Right. Now, how long did you stay the whole 4 years, or?
Oh, yeah, I graduated.
Wow.
Yeah, like I said, when you're not welcome at home, you might as well make it work.
You got to stay. Now, what was your major there?
At that time, West Point was all engineers.
All engineers?
Yes, so it was the first engineering school in the country. And at that time, we had 7 electives out of 141 hours.
A lot of math, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, 6 days a week.
Oh, you went 6?
Yeah, we had math class on Saturday morning.
Oh, man. My son teaches geometry and at the high school here. And, yeah, that's, that would be a lot of math. Now, what was this something that you chose? I mean, to go into engineering and...
No, at that time, that was an engineering school. That's what you had. We didn't have majors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you had concentrations that you could spend those 7 courses in, but everything else was an engineering-based curriculum.
What made you want to go into engineering? I mean...
I didn't have a choice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was, if you go to West Point, you're an engineer.
Well, let me rephrase it. When you got out of high school and to go to college, was that your...
I was actually having conversations to go to med school, and had Mrs. Long had pretty much, that was Dr. Long's wife, and I had pretty much worked it out that I was going to go to Johnson C. Smith, play football, and then go to Duke for med school. And the way it happened was, and it's kind of strange that you look at it, but I graduated high school on May 16th. I got a phone call on May 28th. And guys say, well, this is the admissions office at West Point. You've been accepted. You got 72 hours. So I go tell my mother. And mothers, they are a little on the sneaky side. And so it's a setup. You know, naturally there's a setup. So she tells you, she said, well, I know that you want to go to Johnson C. Smith and play football, but I don't have any money. And I've got Mama and Milton to take care of. Now, you grown. You make your own decisions. I'm 16 years old at the time. But she said, you grown, and you make your own decisions. But the other thing that happened there was she proceeded to back you in a corner. She pretty much told you be a fool, because West Point going to pay you. So this is what you do. And I said, okay, being a big boy and doing all those things. And then I found out I got tricked. And then it just blew up.
Mothers can do that.
Yeah, you know, they run those little games on you. She, like I said, she built me up and everything. You tell a 16-year-old, he grown. Chest pop out and all kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then a few weeks later, you pretty much tell them, yeah, you grown. You ain't welcome back home either.
So in that phone booth, it wasn't like Superman coming out, was it?
No. It was a little boy that finally crawled back up under there that figured out, said, well, one thing about it, you ain't quitting.
Now, when you graduated from West Point. We talked about 400 American graduates since first 177 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now, when you graduated, do you immediately go into service?
Oh yeah, yeah. We had 30 days leave, and I reported to Fort Benning, Georgia. I think on the 7th or 8th of July. We graduated on June 6th. Reported in, and I started airborne school on the 9th of July.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're jumping out of planes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do any parachuting now?
That's why I limp now.
Oh.
It's not that. See, once you get beat up, you don't do that stuff no more. That's a young man's game.
Yeah, I had a guest on here that's 6,500 jumps.
Yeah, my best friend's got over 2,000.
Yeah. And his parachute, he was jumping over here in Union,
Mm-hmm.
and his parachute didn't open.
Mm-hmm.
He had to use a reserve. And he said it only happened 7 times out of that length of time. He had other things. I think he'd been shot like 16 times and still living and walking. He wrote a book, or they wrote a book about it, and that was one of my guests on here a few weeks ago. And he was talking about his things there. But you spent 6 years in there. When you went from West Point into there, did you go in as an officer?
Second lieutenant.
Second lieutenant. Now, people think that when you go in as an officer, you don't have to do no basic training, do you?
What you end up doing is you go to the basic course, and that's basically how they indoctrinate you, how they train you into your responsibilities. But see, I think what you find out is that West Point, those summers are basically basic training.
Training.
Yeah.
Now, so I say, you see, you run everywhere you went.
You ran everywhere you went. You learned. It was hands-on, and you were competent. Yeah, you were competent.
Well, I could see going in second lieutenant. What was your rank when you left it after 6 years?
Captain.
Captain. Okay, that's great. And that's one thing that the West Point conditioned you being an officer.
Well, that's what you're trained to do. That is your purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, and West Point's mission is to develop leaders of character.
Right. You see any your people that you was commanding over?
You can't get rid of them. You got classmates. You got people you serve with.
Right.
And matter of fact, we've got a weekend scheduled this weekend. And we typically go to an HBCU football game, at least one a year, and just a chance to get together. But you're talking about now, we're pushing close to 50 years.
So when y'all get together, is a good many of you, or just?
It's a good many of us. And then you've got informal get-togethers. You knew Colonel Jack Whitener, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Colonel Whitener told me, he said, Ike, he said, I'm getting up here. So we don't just do the 5-year reunions. We do a reunion any chance we get to get together and all. Because I think we had number 40 in 2019, and we had a mini in Florida. I guess it was 2021, something of that nature. We got number 45 coming up next fall.
And a lot of changes in those 40-some years, right?
You see a lot.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you grow, but you're also, when you look back upon it, you were prepared to grow.
Right.
And what it does, it provides you with a perspective that allows you to be receptive to growth, be receptive to change, and you also teaches you to not only be receptive, but to be reflexive, to be reflective and responsive.
And when you left the service, what was your job that you chose to?
I think the job chose me. The time I was in the Army was probably during that period the greatest weaponry evolution in that period of time. And you're talking about the introduction of the Black Hawk helicopter,
Right.
the introduction of the M1 Abrams tank, the introduction of the M2 Bradley fighting vehicle, as well as the Apache attack helicopter. So pretty much all that came online within a 10-year period, late 70s, early 80s. And I did force modernization at Fort Hood, 2nd Brigade, 2nd Armored Division, and I got recruited to join General Dynamics and started work on the M1A1 tank.
Wow.
You know.
So you were kind of instrumental into designing?
No,
Or-
we did requirements analysis. What requirements is this tank going to have to meet?
Oh,
You know.
okay.
So you talk about environment, you talk about threat, talk about performance and things of that nature.
Right. Now, you were also stepping a little bit years on down the road here, that you went into education.
That was my dream and all, and I think it became my dream when you saw the impact on your life and all. And one of the things to tell folks, and I grew up in a little shotgun shack, and there were 4 of us in a room, little pot-belly stove, and education pretty much took that transition and all. It facilitated that transition. And if you find that out, you become an advocate, you love it, because you're not talking about what you heard about the impact. What you're doing is that you've lived the impact, and it provides you a greater passion for it, because it's not hearsay.
Right.
So when you can talk about it, you can talk about, well, here's what worked for me, and I believe it can work for you.
So you, even now, you mentor to others.
Oh, yeah.
To help,
yeah.
especially African American to achieve some of the goals, because a lot of them thinks that they can't. A lot of kids.
What you end up with is that you hear myths
Right.
about what can't be done. But the other thing that you're dealing with, and this is one of the things that's happened, is that, and this is one of my themes, is that in order to be me, I need to see me. So when you're talking about a kid, it's a big difference when you point to a group of people up there and don't nobody look like him.
Right.
Or if you're talking with folks who have similar backgrounds, who have similar struggles, who are willing to become engaged with you and to become honest about the whole thing. One of the things that caught me at West Point was that first summer, and they'd have the whole corps of new cadets out on the getting ready to go on the parade field. And I looked out there, and I saw a Ron Johnson. I saw a Vernon Crocker, and all of these were men, 21, 22-year-olds, but they were leaders on the brigade staff at West Point. So it pretty much told you, yeah, I believe you can do that.
Right.
Yeah, you believe, because you saw it.
Right.
And all. And one of the things you have to do is that you have to understand this is how things work. And when you don't see that, what it does, it increases doubt in the individual. And then the other piece that comes out of there is that you've really got to create aspirations in individuals through exposure. So I need to see things so I can aspire to be.
Right. So you got to have that. You got to see the vision.
You got to see the vision.
Because if you don't see the vision, then the doubts come in.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. Do you know it? Well, I never seen nobody do it.
Yeah.
And then you got a guy that's going to spend time, or a young lady that's going to spend time with you. And I tell all of them, man, this is easy. I'm not going to tell him he's going to lose a whole lot of sleep.
Right.
I'm not going to tell him he's going to miss some crying nights. But it's easy.
Or crying in a phone booth.
No, you shouldn't tell a king like that because it becomes discouraging.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But by the time they get stuck and they realize don't have an options, well, you might as well go ahead.
Well, see, I see when you're talking about that right there, I see your mother teaching you what you just got through saying when you was, she said you're a grown man and all this right here and you got up like that. So I see where you get that experience from that. It's actually from your mother.
But there were some forces.
Yeah.
But it was a subtle force and all because, pretty much, well, you're grown, you make your own decisions and things of that nature. And the other thing that happens is by virtue of you being grown, because you accepted the fact that you're grown.
Right.
Grown folks take care of their responsibilities.
Yeah.
Grown folks take care of their commitments. And you can't play both sides. You can't be a little boy and be grown at the same time.
Right. Now, with you being the director at the Spartanburg Community College here in Union and talking to young folks coming in, what is that some of the advice that you give them? Would they come and ask you or directions as far as, okay, I'm doing this right here, just to kind of, because a lot of young folks don't have direction.
Well, what you end up with, mine is a simple question. What you want to be when you grow up? And I got this from my second job. I worked at Keenan's Barbershop, other side of Wall Street, shining shoes. And going in a barbershop is an experience because you're going to meet all kind of folks. But you meet prominent men. You learn how to behave yourself. You listen. Because kids aren't allowed to interrupt conversations. You hear stories, and the challenge is always there. Boy, what you going to be when you grow up, what you want to be, and things of that nature. So it forces you to look outward, and it forces you to look beyond your current situation. And then the other thing that comes out of there is that you'd be surprised at what people can do for you and all. Because a little old man might have had a life, may have had kids who have gone out and done great things and all. That was the thing that I laugh about all the time. I used to cut grass for Miss Jeffrey's mother. I'm sorry, for Coach Jeffrey's mother and all. The first black chief of chaplains, Matthew Zimmerman. I used to deliver her paper. And also you're around here, and what it does is that when you get out in the world, yeah, that's a little boy Mama talked about, and things of that nature. Because there are always people around, and just because you see people in small towns and places like that, it doesn't mean they don't have reach.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they don't have reach and things of that nature. And but what you have to do is you have to learn to engage older people respectfully and all. And see, the whole thing that comes out of this is that all you need as a kid is good manners.
Right.
Please, thank you, yes ma'am, yes sir. And if you send a child to school with good manners, they're going to make it.
Right.
Yeah, they're going to make it. It's as simple as that. Because it doesn't as much matter in terms of what you can teach them as a parent, but if you teach them the basics, they will be taken care of.
And you probably remember too, as we was growing up, the little videos they'd show in schools. This is I think they call some of it Mr. Manners. Showed the kid to go in and wash his hands, and says, "Oh, well,
I don't remember those.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah. Okay.
some videos that when I was growing up, that they showed these little videos of you don't want to be a Mr. I forgot what they call it now, that runs in the hallway or doesn't wash his hands or something like that. It's just these little training videos that they showed just a little tidbit of it as we was growing in elementary school.
Yeah, see, those I don't recall, because I think one of the things that happened, and when you start looking at it from a cultural standpoint, and then you're talking about from segregation and secondhand books and things like that, our teachers were heavy on manners, reading, writing, and arithmetic,
Right.
and and then the other place was the integration of that within the church. So you learned public speaking, you were in plays, you learned to express yourself. I actually, like I told you, I went to kindergarten at Corinth.
Right.
And all. So one of the things that happened there was that I was a very active child. But one of the things that my kindergarten teacher told me was that she recognized as I was a little bit more advanced. Because the thing that happened with me was my mother was 13 when I was born, but I was adopted by a bunch of her classmates. So she got kicked out of school. But classmates took the little boy to school. So I probably went to school with them as soon as I was able to change myself. But when I got to kindergarten, I could read, write, do all kind of stuff like that. Highly active.
Oh.
And there was a lady who taught kindergarten, Miss O'Neill Sims, and she told me, Isaac, if you don't, I will. They don't do things of that nature right now, but that's
Right.
one of those little subtleties.
Right.
And I think the big difference now is that she listened to the child versus label the child. So if you got a kid running around getting into all kinds of stuff, he's not ADD. He may be a little bit more advanced than the rest of the kids are.
Right.
And what she told me, so you go over here and help this little boy here. So basically what it did, it gave me something to do.
Something to do.
And it kept her classroom a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
But there was the threat, there was the recognition, and there was the assignment.
Right. So
So
she did it in a way that again lifted you up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like I said, these were the subtleties now. One of the things that really disturbed me is that we too often label versus spending time having the conversation and adapting towards the individual child and doing really an analysis of who they are, what their strengths are, and things of that nature. And one of the things my fifth grade teacher, Miss Dorothy, gets passed last year. And one of the things I said at her funeral is that you can't teach me if you don't love them.
Right.
Yeah, you can't teach them if you don't love them. And you have to show an interest in that individual. And kids know whether you like them or whether you don't.
Oh yeah, they can pick up
Yeah,
that.
they'll pick up on it.
Yeah.
But that's how that goes. And basically, it goes back to the question that we have with young people. So what you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
And we go there. There are a couple of things that we eliminate because I don't know a whole bunch of NBA ball players, NFL ball players, and things of that nature. I know a whole bunch of engineers, know a whole bunch of teachers, and the success rate is astronomically higher. But one thing about it, that knee gets messed up, you ain't playing no more ball.
Not playing no more ball.
You ain't playing
Gotta
no
have
more
something
ball.
to fall back
You
on,
gotta,
right?
Got to be able to work with
Yeah.
it.
What, out of all your teaching, all your mentoring, and I know you're proud of a lot of students and a lot that's grown up. you don't even have to use a name or anything like that, that you're most proud of that's just took and went beyond, uh, took the mentoring to heart and really, and they don't have to be someone that went way, 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 way up like that, just someone just was bound for disaster or whatever, but and then turned their life and then went way beyond your expectation that you can say talk about as proud of.
I got a guy now. He wasn't bound for disaster,
Right.
but he was bound for settling
Right.
and all. And he's actually grew up across the street from my mom. He's one of my mama's little boys. And actually, there are two of them. They're first cousins. But I was working at GM at the time, and he had just graduated PC and told me he wanted to go to work for General Motors. I said, no, boy, you don't want to go to work for General Motors. So we took a trip out to Walmart and bought him, no, I think I made him pay for it, a couple of books, the GMAT, Best Business Schools. And he had a degree in accounting from PC, left Union and went to Georgia and got a master's in taxation from Georgia State and went to work for KPMG. And messed around after that. And he called me one morning. He said, Ike, I got accepted into Duke's Business School. He did what? I said, okay. And you can't talk about jumping up and down and doing all sorts of things like that because I already ran the game on him. I said, man, this stuff is easy. And he bit it. Hook, line, and sinker. Hook, line, and sinker. But I knew, I said, well, whatever needed to happen, we'll figure out how to happen. And a couple of years later, he said, man, I got an invitation for you, got a graduation invitation for you.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, Billy Murphy. Yeah, Billy's done the world and all. And he's back in Charlotte and all. But he went to Duke Business School, Bank of America VP, worked for General Electric. Now he's working for TIA.
Man.
But no resistance.
Right.
Yeah, he took it. He ran with it and all. And but it's a very simple thing and all because there were not a whole bunch of questions asked. You had a young man that was motivated, who was willing to put in the work, and when he got there and provided the opportunity, he knocked it out the park.
Well, that's fantastic, and that's something that it's great to watch someone grow and grow and grow and still growing, and it just makes you feel good about yourself that you're able. Because sometimes all they need is just that little encouragement, that little bit of push.
Yeah, but see, like I said, the thing with him, he's far from a failure.
Right.
Because he was a pretty strong guy when I met him.
Yep.
You know, because this is one of my mama's little boys, one of my brother's little boys.
Right.
And he said, this is what he wanted to do. I said, all right, we'll figure it out. Because this goes into the thing, when you start thinking about reach, you start thinking about access and all, you'd be surprised at what that old guy over there has or who he knows and things of that nature. But you got to develop them, articulate them, and you'd be surprised at where they can go.
Well, we're going to stop here just a second and go to another commercial, and we'll be right back. And we want to talk a little bit about WEGOJA.
Okay.
All right, we're back, and we're talking to Isaac McKissick, and we're going to talk a little bit about WEGOJA, and he's going to tell you a little bit what that is about. And I hope you're having a great time. I hope you're learning some things. I know that I am. And let's find out a little bit about WEGOJA.
Okay, I'm working on a specific project for WEGOJA, and it is a toolbox for assisting African-American historical sites in being listed on the National Register of Historical Places. And what you find out is that there are a lot of places, but not necessarily the level of knowledge that can get them done.
Right, and I know that Ms. Wilson has been a great instrument here in Union and getting a lot of things done with the jail and bringing up different things that I love history, so I find it very, very interesting. And tell people what WEGOJA, what is that organization?
What it is, it used to be, I think it's the African-American Historical Society.
Right.
In the state of South Carolina, but it changed the name to WEGOJA.
Okay, and they can put that name in. You can get it off the link on the show here and take it to the website, and you can read all about it. I was looking at some of their newsletters and some of the things on there this week. Now, on this project here, this is a project that you're working on? Is it nationally, or is it?
No, this is for South Carolina. Yeah, this is for South Carolina, and I am a regional ambassador, so I am responsible for the upstate, and that is Union, Spartanburg, Greenville, Lawrence, Oconee, and Pickens.
Okay.
And what we're looking to do is to find those people who are engaged with African American historical sites and develop the knowledge base which quits making it a random event.
Okay.
So basically what you're saying there is, well, this is the go-to place if you want to get a site listed in the National Register. So what does that mean? One of the things that we talk about is that this is not only based upon a historical basis, but also an architectural basis and all. And actually the Sims just got placed.
Okay.
And it was an element where there is historical significance, but you also have to talk about the architectural significance or the structural significance of the site. So you've got at least 3 in Union County right now. You've got Sims, you've got Corinth Baptist Church, and you've got the L.W. Long, the old community hospital. And basically what we're doing there is you got to go through a process, and our intent is to make that process visible on the website, as well as identify the subject matter experts that can carry you through this process. So we're not telling you that you need to be an expert, but we're going to tell you where to go to find the expertise that you need.
Okay.
And we're doing a series of listening sessions for a needs determination, as well as to identify those subject matter experts. And that's going to help us really collate and define where to go, who to have conversations with, and we're also going to provide examples of the process. So here's a process that we went through with Sims. I don't know, did you ever talk to Nate Johnson down at Rose Hill?
I've spoken with him on several different other projects,
Yeah,
but not.
But Nate was a historian, and then Nate also had the structural expertise and things of that nature. So, and plus that was part of his job. So when you got it, that's a resource.
That's a resource right there.
He's a one of a kind. Yeah, he's a one of a kind guy. And then you've got Dr. Tom Crosby. So Tom is totally immersed from a historian's perspective. You know, he can tell you from Sims back in the 20s. And also, these are the type of people that you need with both the historical as well as the architectural and the structural knowledge. And then you got to talk about how do you fund it, how to get people to write it, and there are a series of steps that you want to go through. Now, from a layman's term, you just say, well, I believe this place has. Well, here are the people that you go through, and this will be on the website. This will be done. This is something that's funded by the Mellon Foundation.
Okay, so this, that's going to save a lot of time, a lot of wasted time of this toolbox that they can take and use to expedite what they're trying to do in these places like Sims and the hospital. And I know organizations now probably wish they had that toolbox.
Well, there is a need. And then the other thing that happens, and I think we have to be very much aware that time waits for no one.
Right.
And time and structures don't necessarily go together well, because you've got to start talking about structural soundness and all. And you got to get these things done while there's still something to do it to. And then the other thing that comes out of there, if a building goes unused, it decays.
It decays.
Yeah,
Life goes out of it, doesn't it?
It just goes, because there's nothing in there that's living and breathing and things of that nature. So
it's amazing how buildings do that, isn't it?
But if you live in there, the building breathes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought that was amazing how you can really suck a life out of a building, literally. And they will be able to, what is your projected having this project finished?
It's a project that's going to last over the next couple of years. And the main thing is that there are individual listening sessions for each of the communities, and there's going to be a listening session here, which will be for those upstate communities. And what we plan to do there is to go over some examples and also do a tour of the sites.
Okay.
To show folks what happened and things of that nature. And then the other piece is hopefully we'll be able to do some practical exercises. Okay. If you can get together, because we got to get it to the point where it's not just here.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just here. And we can get these things written on paper, and it allows us to be able to let it grow and so forth. And you got to understand, and you and I were laughing about this earlier, memories go.
It does.
Yeah, memories go, especially if you don't write them down.
Right, and that's I do a lot of encouragement on people that saying, well, if I'd asked my loved one about our family history and about my grandma, about this great grandma, and I tell them, I says, what you need to do is while your elderly mother or grandmother is alive, is sit down with them. They'll do a video, nothing else, to talk about all these stories and stuff to get you some footholds and some backgrounds, who to go to and things like that. Because when they go, it's that's lost history.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone. And I was blessed enough to have a bunch of great grandmothers. And Granny pretty much raised me. And she was 74 when I was born. And when I turned 17, I think about 8 days later, she left. But during most of that time, I was there, she was there, she talked. And also, that's how I understood about Pea Ridge. That's how I knew about the McKissick plantation.
Right.
That's how I knew where the cemetery was. And then as you get a little bit older, you can start doing research in the census and find things of that nature.
Sorry on the clock. And it's and just like anything, like you said, with time, even with the buildings decaying and things, if you don't have a picture, if you don't have a memory, it's hard to remember what it looks like.
Yeah, it is.
And what it was inside.
Yeah, definitely so.
But, well, our time is unfortunately, up. It was very interesting.
Well, time flies when you're having fun.
It does. It does. It does. Knowledge it just goes by real quick. It's so quick. And I really appreciate you coming and talking with us. It's a load of information here. And they can always contact you even through me or whatever length and through links. And all they got to do is mention your name, type your name in there. You pop up because I Googled your name. Oh, boy. It came up. And so, social media, it's wild nowadays. It's got some good points too. But I really appreciate your coming on and anything that we can do to help with any projects or something to even want videoed or something like that. Just
thank you.
I'll just leave that open with you.
It's been a true pleasure.
All right. You've been listening to Prime Time with Jerry McKee, and you've been listening to Isaac McKissick. And I'll tell you what, some great knowledge there. And tell your friends, if you missed something, rewind. You can rewind this. That's a good thing about it. And we'll see you next week. And you'll find out towards the end of the week who that guest's going to be. We always like to keep it a surprise, and you'll see around Saturday who it's going to be and what our next topic is. Well, I'm Jerry McKee, and you have a great, fantastic week and day.